All right, fantastic. Well, welcome everybody to our December 2020 Fireside Chat here in Startup Louisville. I'm really excited because it was last November in 2019 when things were somewhat normal that we restarted the chapters. 13th Fireside Chat. Very excited to have been doing this now for more than a year. Can't thank enough Austin and his leadership on our team, Lisa Bajornas, who can't be here this morning, for helping, and also Jordan Turner. So those three people have contributed so much to where we are here today. And this is also a time to give a big shout out to our sponsors who have continued to invest in Startup Grind Louisville and make these events possible. So first of all, a big shout out to Amplify Louisville, Larry Horn and Mike DeCinso for their continued support of what we're doing. Also, Render Capital, they came on board as one of our sponsors just a few months ago. We're very excited to have them supporting us and just everything that they're doing here in the community and abroad for entrepreneurs. And then also Citation Labs and Strategex. So none of this would be possible without them. So I am really excited about these interviews. You guys that know me pretty well know that I'm a pretty excitable person, but there's a few of these Fireside Chats that I am just so eager because I know I'm going to learn a lot from it. So last week, I actually got to speak with Mo for the very first time, just for the pre-interview. And I walked away from that conversation just fired up, energized because of his story and his passion. And so we just kind of a tip of the iceberg. And so today we could dive in a lot more, and I know I'm going to learn a lot from it. So Mo, how are you this morning?
I'm doing well. Thank you. And I'm excited to be here.
Awesome. Well, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule. I know you've got a lot going on with EZ Chow, so thank you for making the time. So let's go ahead and dig right into this. So tell us, for those who may not know you very well, a little bit about your background, where you went to school, what motivated you to get into entrepreneurship, some of the things you're passionate about, and then we'll get digging in on EZ Chow.
Sure. So I'm born and raised here in Louisville, Kentucky. So homegrown kid. I went to Manual High School. So, the question is what school you go to. So if you're from Louisville, it means high school. So I went to Manual High School, proud graduate in 1994. I didn't really intend to become an entrepreneur. I worked for a lot of different corporate companies here locally, such as Republic Bank, UPS, Humana, Papa John's. And I just kind of not necessarily fell into it, but I just saw an opportunity. And I recognized the potential that I could help. And I wanted to take advantage of that and offer my services and develop a platform and help as many people, merchants, as I could.
So tell me a little bit about the genesis of the EZ Chow idea. Where did you get this? What was the thing that prompted you to think about this idea?
Yeah, so what gave me the idea was that I worked for Papa John's for about 6-7 years, between about 2007 to 2013. When I was there, they saw explosive growth, and a lot of it was due to the technology we were putting in place at Papa John's. And I got to work on different aspects of the technology stack at PJI, including back of house, back office, coupon management, point of sale, online ordering, different things. And so I left Papa John's and went to another local company, Humana. Was super excited about the opportunity. I just felt that it wasn't the right fit for me. I was getting older. I wasn't in the place in my career where I wanted to kind of like coast. I really wanted to do something impactful. I wanted to kind of leave a mark on this world in a positive way, and more so than just doing an 8-to-5 corporate America type of job. So I started considering my next career move, and with that next career move, I wanted to keep my technology skills up to date and advance my skill set. So I just thought things I could do on my own, and what businesses could I help potentially. And so my first foray into it was working with different spas and hair salons, et cetera, developing appointment software, because my wife would make appointments at these different places, and I was like, you have to call, and it just seemed kind of archaic and not really, why would you do that? But there was a problem with that. So I quickly realized that I didn't know anything about that business model. as far as that's I wasn't involved in that. I didn't know how that business worked and everything. And so I pivoted to kind of just something else. I was like, one day I went to Boombox Pizza, enjoyed my food, and I went online to see if they had online ordering, and they didn't. And I emailed them and asked, I like your pizza, but you guys don't have online ordering. Why is that? And their response was they wanted online ordering, but they needed it integrated with their point of sale system. And that's kind of the aha moment for me. I was like, yeah, I totally understand why you do that, why you would need that. That's what we would do at Papa John's. And so that was the genesis of how EZ Chow got started, taking the requirements that Tony Balbino and his wife Judy had for their pizza business and developing an online ordering solution, a platform for them. We pivoted within that, and about 6 months later, I started writing code in January 2015, and about 6 months later, they're like, we're going to open up this great hot chicken concept that we think is going to be fantastic, and people are going to really like it. And can we use the platform for that? And I'm like, sure. So we had to make a couple tweaks here and there. And in the fall of 2015, we launched. They opened up Joella's, and we launched online ordering with Joella's when they launched. And that's how it all got started.
Wow, how about that? So it was really, you were out dining at a restaurant, saw a need, struck up a conversation, and then it all kind of blossomed from there.
Yeah, and one of the things I wasn't good at, and still don't feel like I'm really great at, is sales, right? And I've kind of had to get better at it. You kind of, as an entrepreneur, you have to be able to sell your product, right? Especially when you're bootstrapping, et cetera. So you develop somewhat of a knack for it, or you at least improve upon it. So, but it happened to be, I went to their customer feedback form and filled out the form. And I've actually tried this method to make introductions to multiple restaurant partners or potential partners since then. And I haven't been as successful as at one time. So it's very well possible that if they didn't respond back, I wouldn't be sitting here right now, because I'll be like, this idea is not going to work. Let me go on to something else. But luckily they responded back, and then that took off from there.
Yeah. So just real quick question on your background too, Mo. So in your time at PJI and Humana, so in your background, are you a software developer? Are you on the business side of things? What kind of role, what's your background in that regard?
Sure. So I forgot to kind of go into a little bit more about me personally when I first started, but I'm at heart a geek, right? And I like to problem solve, and I like to help. So when I was young, I had a Commodore VIC-20, if anybody knows what that was, and then I advanced to Commodore 128, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But back in the day, there was you could get programming books from B. Dalton bookstores, if everybody remembers, or Walden Books in Jefferson Mall. And so my mom would take me, and I would go get those books, and I would just sit there and write the code. And I didn't know what I was doing, but at the process, I was teaching myself. And so I even got to the point where I ran a bulletin board, a part-time BBS bulletin board system between 87 to 93-ish. And then I discovered girls. I was a teenager, and then all that went out the door. So at that my background has always been technology, and I've always wanted to help. I was when I went to U of L, I left Manual and was a Woodford Porter Scholar, and went to University of Louisville. My major was pre-med. My intention was to help and whatnot, but I quickly realized that's not a good field for me. Can't stand the sight of blood. Being a doctor wouldn't really work. So, but I wanted to take that same philosophy and help. So at the core of what we do, it's about service, and it's about using technology to serve. But my personal background is technology. Now, what I've been fortunate enough, been able to do is that I've been through my years of experience and whatnot through corporate America. It's always generally the same, right? You take business problems, challenges, and you develop a technical solution for them. And so you have to. So it's important to be. It's important to be a good programmer. It's important to be a good developer, an engineer, architect, et cetera. But it's even more important to listen, and it's more important to understand what are the challenges that people have, and then developing a good architect will listen to those challenges, develop a solution that fixes those problems as they currently exist, but also future-proofs it so that future problems won't. You can just add on to the system. You can just, it's like adding an additional floor. You don't have to go and rebuild the whole building again. So, but you, in order to get there, you have to listen and you have to understand what they're trying to do.
Mm-hmm. And just in that regard, this company was started on that because when you were talking to the folks at Boomboz and saw that, you were paying attention to what they needed and went through and do it. And Mo, one of the things that really amazes me often is that startup success, so much of it can depend on timing, right? Had you not been at that restaurant that night, saw that thing and had that conversation, would you be here today, right? I mean, who knows what the answer to that, but also the fact that you had the courage to go through, fill out that form and ask. So one follow-up question to what you said before, you said that, at heart, you're a geek and you love tech and that's where all your most of your career has been, but that you don't feel that you're really, really good at sales. So talk to us a little bit about what you're doing or what you've done to increase your capabilities in that area. And then are you bringing on other sales team, biz dev folks on your team? How are you adjusting this right now?
Right. So I think it was a maturation process and it was a growth process, right? And you can only grow when you're put in situations you're uncomfortable in. And that's what growth is. And so it was very important for me to accept, hey, if I want this to be successful, or if I want to make a very good effort to make it successful, then I need to step out of my comfort zone and do what I don't feel comfortable in. So over the years, I've developed becoming a better salesperson. And in fact, when you're a small startup company, and you're bootstrapping the company, you have to. No one is going to promote your company, your product like you will, and you have to be an advocate for your solution. You have to be an advocate for your company, and that's really the key to it all is to demonstrate and show that passion, and then of course make sure everything works too is kind of helpful as well. But then I was also fortunate enough to meet certain people along the way, and timing is everything, as you mentioned. A minute off either which way, and we might not be here, right? And so I met Sally Clark. She was actually she was the first person that I met within the space that, and she wasn't really looking to join a startup company, but she liked what we were doing. She liked what I was doing, and we worked well together. She was really good on sales and earning the trust of merchant partners, and I would focus on the technology side, and then also the long-term strategic vision of the company and growing the company. So it's key about meeting people along the way that you recognize can help grow the company and putting together a team. This isn't about me. EZ Chow is not Mo Sloan. EZ Chow is a collective group of individuals, about 14, 15 of us now, who all believe in the mission that we have, and that is to help merchant partners engage their customers directly, and to fight back against predatory third-party marketplace models that everyone knows about now. So all of us believe in that mission, and we're all here to work towards that, and that's what makes this a great company to be associated with.
Yeah. You talk about that passion, and even last week when we had our pre-interview and even now, that passion just comes out whenever you talk about EZ Chow. That's the smile, the mission, when you talk about your team, and that passion is just so transparent. So I want to focus now on, so you've been in corporate jobs, you started working on this project, built out this platform, started serving Boomboz, and then eventually Joella's and things like that. So how did you know when it was time to leave the comfort of your corporate job? Because that can be a really scary jump, especially if you've been in that environment for most of your career. So how did you know it was time?
Well, I knew it was time before I left, probably about 18 months before I left. I just couldn't, I was just not in the best financial position to leave. I had, being an older entrepreneur has its advantages and disadvantages. Advantages obviously is experience and knowledge and hopefully some wisdom. But the disadvantage is that you've got family, like most likely, and you have other responsibilities that make it hard to just say, you know what, drop this job, go chase a dream, and go grow something. So those are some of the disadvantages of being an older, I guess, entrepreneur. But I knew about 18 months prior to when I left Humana that it was time to leave. In fact, it was getting to the point. I'll say this now, and hopefully I won't ever have to go back to Humana. But but I'll say this now is that I knew it was time to leave when I was on meetings and I couldn't focus on the company. Right, I was on meetings with Humana. I was like, I can't focus on. I got things to take care of. I can't do. And I was like, it's time for me to go. Right. And it was, once again, timing is everything. At a startup event, forecaster for Stephen Plappert, I met Garrett French, and Garrett French was actually the first investor that funded our initial seed round, and that investment allowed me to quit Humana and focus on EZ Chow full time. So I'm forever grateful to Garrett for believing in us and realizing that vision. So it's about timing, but I would say to entrepreneurs out there or people thinking about doing it or whatever, chase your dream, go after it. Just be smart about it. But at the end of the day, I don't really have a parachute. So it's either this works out or hit the ground from 50,000 feet.
So you talk about an 18-month kind of time horizon when you knew it was time to leave to when you actually left. So did you plan that out, that it was going to be 18 months? Were there certain milestones you wanted to hit? How strategic was that 18 months? Or did you finally get to that point where you had enough capital, put in your 2 weeks and say, that's it? So walk us through that process a little bit.
Yeah, so it wasn't, I'm learning the great thing, what I think is a positive about me is that I don't know everything. And that may seem like, why is it a positive? Well, that's a positive because I'm always learning. I'm better today than I was yesterday, and I'll be better tomorrow than I am today. So the potential that the company has is tremendous because we're nowhere near our best. And so I didn't really have a game plan. I didn't strategize. Okay, I need to hit this milestone, this milestone. Of course, we knew certain metrics, certain revenue marks we would hit would make that movement, would make that facilitation over to me becoming full time more viable. But in fact, I knew I wasn't the first full time employee of EZ Chow, to be honest, right? There was other people that were there that I hired that were actually full time, got paid before I even paid myself a dime. So it was important when we got the team in place, not so much as when I could leave. Yes, I needed to leave because I'm the face of the company, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But it was more about making sure that the team was in place and stable, and then moving over at that point. So, but unfortunately, I didn't plan on that. It just happened.
Sure, absolutely. So, how difficult was it to be leading this startup, having other full-time employees that were there, but you were still working a full-time job somewhere else? How did you balance all that?
I didn't really balance any of it. This has consumed me since about 2017 and 18, and it's just the way it is. I've accepted the fact that I work 12 to 16-hour days, and 12-hour day is a good day, right? And the 16-hour day is probably not a great day, but it needs to be done, and it's just the way it is, and whatnot. But I understand I'm missing balance. Right, I understand that this isn't how it's supposed to be, but it is how it is, and it's just the way it is, and you just have to work through it. So, it's very tough. It's very tough when you have a family, when you have other obligations, when you have other responsibilities. You're not going to, you can't be great at everything. And so, what I've decided to do is just to focus on growing the business. And then getting to the point where then at some point I will be able to get balance back in my life, hopefully soon.
Yeah. Well, a couple things that you said there, I think there's so much wisdom in that, Mo, and that, things are not always going to be in balance. You see these articles on Entrepreneur Inc. magazine or whatever that talks about work-life balance and all that. That's a great idea, but very rarely does it ever work out in real life, right? Especially if you're pursuing something like you're doing. And the other thing that you said that was such a nugget of wisdom is that there's things that just have to be done. And so many folks out there that have dreams of startups or small businesses or whatever, they have these ideas, but then they don't go and do the work. They're not willing to put in the 12 to 16-hour days. The ideas are there, but the work is not. And it's those folks like yourself that are willing to sacrifice, willing to have that corporate job, build this team. You do both, work those 16-hour days, that just do what has to be done. So lots of wisdom in that. So walk us through a little bit. I know you've raised close to $1 million to get EZ Chow up and running. So first time raising funds and all that. You mentioned Garrett French that, believed in you, was one of the first investors. Tell us what it was like going through learning how to raise money, what it was like getting that first $1 million.
Sure. And there's a lot of people, not just Garrett. If I didn't mention, there's a lot of people that have helped, right? Kyle Keeney with Elevate Ventures has been great. The guys Moses and TJ and Bryce at Render Capital, the Bridgman family, Brian Nutt, Rosenval family. So it's been I've had tremendous support from the local community. So, but it was a difficult thing raising money, right? Especially when you've never done it before. And I was learning as I go. And it was like, I just realized things that I didn't know. And so it was a challenging, it was probably the hardest thing I've ever had to do, honestly. Because without raising that capital, I couldn't get to EZ Chow full time. And without getting to EZ Chow full time, I couldn't realize and scale and grow the business as I thought the opportunity was. I look back at it, I wish hindsight's 2020, and I wish, if I had this experience, if I was a second-time founder, I would have raised the money a lot sooner in 2015 when I first had the idea. But that's just not the way it was and everything. So everything happens for a reason. But it was a very extremely difficult thing. Now, what's funny about it is that we're raising additional round as we speak now. But it's not easier. It's just I'm just aware of certain things ahead of time, right? So I've equated it, and then I gave the analogy of it's very similar to I was taught to get on first base, right? I bunted, hit a blooper to first base. That was the first round. Now it's like, okay, now what do I do, right? So I'm still learning from Kyle. I'm still learning from Ryan Bridgman. I'm still learning from all these people who are helping me figure out how to get to second base. And so that's the thing. You don't really know everything. I don't know if you ever will. You just have to kind of learn and grow and hopefully your experiences provide enough background and depth that they help you make good decisions.
Sure, absolutely. Well, that humility you bring to this, Mo, is just so evident that you're willing to surround yourself with these people and you know where your strength and your expertise is, but you're bringing on these other folks and you're listening. And by the fact that you're listening and putting those things in action, that's what's going to help you not get from first base to second base, but eventually get all the way around and hit that home run. So that's really cool. And I believe that founders that have that humble mindset, that are open and willing to listen, that they go a lot further than those who don't have that and think that they know it all. So out of curiosity, as we're listening to this, or the folks that are on this right now and that may be watching the video recording, if somebody is interested in participating in your current round of fundraising, what is the best way for them to get some more information about that if they want to be a part of that?
Sure. So the best way is I'll put it in the chat, but just email me directly, mo.sloan@ez-chow.com. Or you can go to our website, ez-chow.com, and there is, I think, an investor relations tab on there. Feel free to click on that, and you can get in touch with the appropriate people at our company.
Okay, great. Thank you. I just wanted to make sure that since you're in the midst of that, we give everybody an opportunity to contact you that may be interested.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I just don't want to violate any SEC rules.
So, I gotcha. I understand. All right. So let's talk about this. So this has obviously been a crazy year with COVID and all that stuff. So what impact has COVID had on your business model? What have you changed? What new opportunities have you seen? Obviously, the restaurant industry has been severely impacted over the last 9-10 months with this. So how has this changed your business?
It's had a dramatic impact on our business. I can't sugarcoat that. And it's both in a positive and a negative way. What I have told people during presentations, et cetera, is that what we're seeing with COVID is, to me, is equivalent to what the transportation logistics industry saw with 9/11, and how 9/11 had a dramatic impact on how we move about the country. COVID has had a dramatic impact about how we interact with restaurants. Now, understanding that, hopefully with the vaccine and other things, that life will get quote unquote back to normal. But I don't think it's going to ever be the way it was before, and especially for restaurants, because if you weren't thinking about technology before, you definitely are thinking about technology now, because not imagine all the other things that could happen. And as a business owner, your objective should be to stay in business no matter what, and especially to respond to consumers' demands and behaviors. And we're seeing that with technology and how people are engaging with restaurants, regardless of COVID, and everything. But from our business, COVID has impacted us because it's made our story. It's made an easier product platform to sell in some ways, right? Because I don't have to necessarily tell you why you need technology for your restaurant. You kind of know it's how you generate revenue. So I don't necessarily have to tell you that. The problem the problem and challenges given us is that we closed our first round on March 16th. That was the first day of shelter at home orders across the country in a lot of different states. So we were always behind the 8 ball to begin with, and so we were enhancing our platform, doing things and everything while COVID was going on, and we were trying to onboard as many people as possible. So that's been a challenge, and we finally got a hold of that, and we've kind of resolved those issues. But that was a challenge. But from our business perspective, we were always working on EZ Chow is a platform that allows a merchant to engage their customer directly, right? But we built that on top of point of sale integrations that we have with various point of sales in the restaurant industry, POS systems. What we were going to do before, but COVID's kind of accelerated, is we're developing a non-integrated solution. And so with a non-integrated solution like we have now, what that means is that any merchant, regardless of the point of sale that they have, can be a merchant partner of ours. So it really increases our potential for market share. And so that's the impact that COVID has. This is a land grab for us, and we need to go out and get as many locations and grow market share as quickly as possible. Hence the additional round, hence the improvements to architecture that we're making and everything. We know we have to go fast. Time is of the essence, but COVID has kind of accelerated that need to go faster.
Mm-hmm. So you have about 300 locations you're serving right now, correct?
Yeah. So it depends on what you count as locations, but we have right now about 220 in development, under contract, et cetera. We have another 80 or so working with the Marine Corps Community Service, but that's taking a little bit longer because it's the government, so it takes a while. But yeah, so we've got we say around 220 because we don't really count those 300 locations, the 80 government locations right now.
Gotcha. So what is your growth plan going into 2021? How many new locations are you trying to bring on board? Yeah. What's that like?
Yeah, so we're trying to significantly increase the number of just because I'm not sure. I want to be cognizant of what I say in a public forum, but just because we are significantly going to increase the number of locations on our platform, right? And it was our goal to be in the thousands within a year and a half, 2 years at the minimum. So that's what we're striving for, and that's why it's important to bring on solutions that help us reduce friction from our perspective when it comes to merchant partners. Now, any restaurants out there, and I've been trying to get in touch with some of the local restaurants, such as Moby Dick, Hungry Pelican, different restaurants that have a lot of locations but don't have a solution. No matter what type of point of sale system they have, they are a potential partner of ours now.
Gotcha. Okay. So as you look back on everything that's happened so far with your journey through EZ Chow, what do you think is the biggest lesson that you've learned along the way? The biggest takeaway that if you knew starting out that you would do different?
What is the biggest lesson? Raise money. I mean, in order to build a business, you need you need capital, right? And so I think what I would have done is maybe focus more on getting the initial platform up and going, stopping, and then full effort raise capital. Now that's easier said than done because because I'm sitting here now, and like I said, hindsight's 2020. The reason I kind of went the way I did was because I was like, it was always okay. I was kind of taking baby steps. Is this going to work? Okay, is this going to work? Is this going to work? Until the point where I said, okay, it will work enough to support myself and my family. Let's chase after it. So but I think so. You have to have you have to be a little bit in earlier. You have to be just a little bit more determined, and maybe not necessarily determined, but you have to be a little bit more. Maybe take that risk sooner than later. I guess that'll probably be the thing that I would recommend.
Gotcha. So, out of curiosity, the earliest investors when they came on and like decided to fund what you were doing, in your opinion, is it because the market was right and you had the platform that was polished enough? Or do you think it was more your vision and passion that really lured those people in? Because so many folks, they're not sure when to ask money. Is the MV product good enough? So what was the thing that you think really attracted them to you?
Well, I think from my perspective, and not being an entrepreneur before, I think really generating revenue is the point where I was like, okay, this is not just some idea. This is, this could be a potential business. This is a company. This could grow and scale. So I think generating revenue. Now, although that's kind of, I don't think everybody needs to generate revenue in order to go after capital. I'm not saying that, because there are obviously things, if you're in development, especially in the medical field, you might not be able to generate revenue right then and realize that investment. So, from my perspective, I think it was just the fact that we showed that we were generating revenue. We showed it that we could walk the walk and talk the talk.
Okay. Yeah. Well, whenever you can show an investor you're already generating revenue, that obviously makes things a lot easier from that perspective. So let's talk a little bit about your logo and your branding. Mike DeCenzo in the chat just mentioned everybody your new logo and stuff like that. So even tell us a little bit about the genesis of the name of your company and part of the branding behind that. Is that all from Mo's head, or did you have a team to develop this?
No. So I'm horrible at names, right? I had a lot of ideas for names. And everything was taken. All the .coms were taken. Right? I was like, daggone it. And then I was like, you know what? There's a company called Chow Now, and they're out in California and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I was like, you know what? Let me just kind of borrow their first. Maybe I'll get some customers just by thinking that, it's the same thing or something. So that's where, and I thought, well, EZ, and then EZ Chow was taken. So EZ Chow is actually, I think, a Chinese restaurant in Minneapolis, fun fact. But so we sometimes get their like inquiries for salary information, but nonetheless, just like, well, I'll use a hyphen. Not the greatest idea in the world, and that's probably, and I'll go back and change that, but we used the hyphen. It was ez-chow.com, and I've always hated the name. I've never really liked it. It's just somebody told me it sounded like dog food. I was like, so I've never been happy with the name, but it's kind of the name now, and it's being a tech guy, we always turn stuff into acronyms anyway. So internally we call it EZC. So it makes it a little bit easier for me to stomach it and everything. But we've actually thought about some other, like Order Genius is one thing that we want to call, but I won't get into all that. But anyway, and so I worked with Sally. She knew a local person who did branding, and by the name of John McCafferty. And he came up with this logo, the EZ Chow bag logo. The first logo I had was done. I did on Fiverr. And it was just a basic logo. But he came in with this logo, and then we worked with another company to transition to our more modern logo that actually I like a lot, and it makes me stomach the name of the company.
Got it. Got it. Well, I love just the journey of that because, so many startups, they put so much time and effort and energy into figuring out the perfect name or the perfect logo when that can be important, but at the end of the day, it's what you and your company and your culture makes of it. And those logos can always change. And I love your new logo. It is fantastic. So kudos to your team. And with the other EZ Chow up in Minneapolis or whatever, who knows? You may be able to get that domain sooner than you think, right?
Yeah. No, I mean, that's always, to buy the domain and buy .io and different. I think we'll be able to get that eventually.
Yeah. So just question for you as you're talking. So I know we've been talking a lot about the platform being able to serve primarily the restaurant industry. Are you and your team, do you have visions of this being able to serve other retail or other kind of businesses? Or are you focusing just exclusively on the restaurant industry right now?
Technically, our platform will work for any industry if you want to sell things online. So if you have desires to be e-commerce, our platform will work, especially with the non-integrated solution that we have now. So what we like to say is that our goal is to be to the restaurant industry as Shopify is to retail. So that's kind of where we're trying to position ourselves long term. To answer your question, yes, we have worked. We do actually work with a little bit of what we call non-traditional restaurants. We partner with New York Presbyterian Hospital up in state of New York. And then, so we actually have their gift shop online, and they don't sell food there, but that's available. So theoretically, it could work with any merchant partner, and we've looked at expanding to other verticals at the right time. What we want to do is, another thing I've learned is you want to stay hyper focused, especially these early years, where you're trying to grow your product, mature your product, scale. You don't want to go chasing too many rabbits, and man who chases two rabbits catches none. So you want to be focused on what you're doing. So that's kind of our thought process is, yes, we understand that this is scalable to other areas, but we want to focus on our core area for right now, unless some compelling business proposition came up, and then we probably have to take a look at it.
Sure, absolutely. All right. Well, fantastic. Well, Mo, we're getting ready to move into our rapid fire questions, which are always a lot of fun. So basically, this is just a really quick 1 or 2 sentence question I'm going to ask you, and then you just fire off a 1 or 2 word answer.
Okay.
But before we do that, we are going to give a chance for audience Q&A. There's already been quite a few questions that have been dropped in the chat. So if anybody has any questions for Mo that you would like for him to answer, based on anything we've talked about or just anything you have, go ahead and drop those in the chat, and we're going to spend the last 15 or 20 minutes in the Q&A session. So make sure you get your chance to do that if you have a question. So, all right, Mo, you ready for the rapid fire questions?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right, here we go. Here's the first one. Cards or cats?
Cards.
All right. Museum or rock concert?
Museum.
Okay. Cats or dogs?
Dogs.
Beer or wine?
Beer.
Okay. Sushi or tacos?
Tacos.
That one was an easy one. Right. Favorite holiday?
Christmas.
Okay. What's your favorite vacation spot?
Cozumel, Mexico.
Ooh, love it. Okay. What is your go-to karaoke song?
Oh no. Oh man. So I don't have a go-to karaoke song because I can't sing worth a lick. But my wife and I, we did Sheryl Crow and Kid Rock Picture. Right. We did that at the holiday party last year. So
Okay.
that was fun, and but never to be repeated, never to be redone again. So, but yeah, karaoke not my thing, you know.
Got it. Well, just so you know, Mo, in the comments, somebody's already asked for you to sing it. So, I mean,
Not, not happening. I want to maintain my self dignity and respect. So.
I hear you. So, do you have any unusual skills or talents that nobody knows about?
Do I have any unusual skills or talent? I don't think so. Right. I think I do have it's not really talent or skill. I have the ability to mess do it yourself projects up. Right. So I've tried to do the, building stuff and it never works out, like never. So that's a skill or knack I have.
That's funny, Mo, because if a lot of people were honest, I'm going to say they've got that same skill because I've got that skill too. So I completely hear you on that one. So, what is the best compliment that someone can give you?
Determined.
Okay, determined. Love it. All right, two more questions.
Okay.
What is one thing on your bucket list?
Grow this company to be $1 billion company and exit.
Ooh, love it. All right, final one. If you could be a flavor of ice cream, what would you be?
Strawberry.
Strawberry. Okay, why strawberry?
I like strawberry.
Okay, all right.
I'm allergic. Oh, here's a fun fact. I'm allergic to peanuts, so and peanut butter. So no one give me peanuts or don't ever give me peanut butter. I can usually smell it, but don't cook anything in peanut oil and give it to me because it results in the worst trips to the hospital.
Got it. All right. Well, thank you. Those rapid fire questions are always super, super fun. And hey, I got to tell you, looking through the chat here, Mo, this conversation has made some people hungry because there's a couple comments here. I'm going to have to go on order online right now at Joella's. I'm hungry. So, all right. Well, let's get into some questions here. So, Ben Reno Weber has our first question. And he says, what advice would you give to other mid-career folks thinking about entrepreneurship? And then he said, see, I didn't call you old. So cool question because it's coming from Ben.
Right. Well, I appreciate the question, Ben. The advice I would give is kind of use the thing you have when you're mid-career is you have experience, right? And so you utilize your experience and utilize your experience to make the best decision possible, but understand also too that you have to take risk. Nothing in life is guaranteed, and if it's easy, everybody would do it. So take risk. Just be smart about it, and trust and believe in yourself.
Yeah. So what was it that gave you, I guess, the confidence to take that risk in your own journey, Mo? Was it that you'd already seen some traction, you had seen some success that really made you feel confident?
Yeah, I think it was the traction we saw. It was the fact that revenue, we were able to generate revenue. I don't know if I could sit here and say that if we weren't able to generate revenue, would I have been confident in our idea? I think that traction was key. We basically validated ourselves along different steps of the line, right?
Okay.
And so that validation was very key to our beliefs and knowing that this is going to work.
Okay, great. All right, next question comes from Russ Brumell, and he asks, what's been the hardest role for you to hire for and why?
Oh, that's a very good question. What's been the hardest role to hire for? So I would say sales and marketing, and not just sales as in sales like doing day-to-day sales. It's not it. Like doing enterprise massive sales, right? People with because neither myself nor Sally had experience in growing. The numbers we're talking about from a location perspective, those are large numbers. It's not just adding a couple locations here and there. It's year over year doubling your growth. So that's been the very hardest part is recognizing and finding people that can have those capabilities or that know how to do it, they've done it before, and getting them on board, because honestly they're usually expensive people because they can bring in a lot of revenue. So it's kind of, you have to find the right ones that maybe you're not in it for the initial revenue, or know that the payoff is much later on down the line when we're talking about equity and whatnot.
Gotcha. So two things I'm curious, when you're hiring those first people, obviously on the sales and marketing side, you needed to look for some demonstrated growth and that they can do the job that they're doing in the enterprise level. Were you looking for folks who primarily had the skill set, or folks that were a great match for your culture and what you were doing, or was it both?
I think it was both.
Okay.
It's about fitting into our culture. It's very important for me, for everyone in this company at this stage of the company, to feel vested, to feel like they're contributing, to have a piece of this. Because like I mentioned, it's not about me, it's about us collectively. Mm-hmm. And what's funny is, like, for Thanksgiving, I emailed everyone individually and told them, hey, take the rest of it was like Wednesday, take the rest of the day off, or Tuesday, no, because we let people have Wednesday off. So it's Tuesday afternoons, like, hey, I thank you for your contributions. You've done a great job. I sent each person on my team an individualized personal message. And I didn't create a form and then copy and paste. It wasn't any of that. But I realized what I told our CFO after that I did that was the day that the Thanksgiving that I can't do this for every person individually is when I know it's time to not be CEO anymore, right? And so that family culture is very important. We all win or we all lose. That's very important to me. So fitting into that culture is also extremely important. We want people who fit in. So it's not just, you might be the best salesperson, you might have sold B2B SaaS and everything before, and 4, 5, 6X, and of course we have to look at you, but if you don't fit into our culture, then it's not going to work.
Yeah, 100%. Culture is everything. Now, did you and Sally do the hiring on your own, or did you have to bring in some outside help to help you with the recruiting? Because that can be a challenging thing for folks that have never done that before. So did y'all take care of it internally or work with people to help you?
Well, it's funny that you mentioned Keith McMoon, who's on the call with us, and me, introduced us to a great individual by the name of Mitch Young. And he's been helping us a lot on that regards, right? And then introductions I made with other people in the industry have been helpful. Ron Freeman, and formerly QSR, and everything as well. So people have helped us given us introductions to people that have just fit. I mean, we've been fortunate enough that we actually haven't posted any external job postings yet, because everyone's been kind of recommendations from other people, and that's kind of how we've built the team so far. We are posting a developer position here soon, but yeah.
That's awesome. That's such a great way to build that culture, and that culture is so important. So thank you for sharing that, Mo. Okay, next question. This comes from Jacob Huff, and Jacob asks, how are your customers finding you? What channels are best for selling your product?
So customers are finding us through our website, inbound website. They find us that way. They also find us just word of mouth. The restaurant industry, while big, is also small in the collective pocket. So other restaurateurs talk to other restaurateurs, those kind of things. And then the way our platform works, and that we're credit card agnostic when it comes to processing. We're point of sale agnostic, generally speaking. So we get a lot of our relationships through dealers, and the point of sale dealers or credit card processors. Merchant partners get introduced to us in that way.
Okay, great. All right, Keith McNunn also has a question, and he asks, are you more or less likely to hire remote workers than you were a year ago? Why or why not?
Depends. technology, we want to hire local workers, because we wanted we wanted like we want to make sure that everyone's on the same path, right? We want to make sure everyone's kind of aware of what they're doing. From a from a other disciplines, other parts of the business, I think we're fine virtual.
Okay. So this is just a little tag along to that. So you guys at EZ Chow, do you have an office? And if so, is your team still meeting or working from there? Are you allowing a lot of your team to work from home right now?
Some of our people are working from the office. It's kind of like we have a policy, but we limit the number of people that go in there. But if you want to go in, you can go in. Most of our workforce is remote, though.
Okay, gotcha. So this is next question. This one's coming from me. Are there any books or anything that you have read that have really helped you along the way, or podcasts or any resources that you've really leaned on during this journey as an entrepreneur? Or has it mainly just been, the advisors and the people you've been able to connect with?
Yeah, I've been trying to read a couple books, but the problem is I just don't have a lot of time to read books. So, I've been trying to do that. I've been really just leaning on people, the advisors, and people that I've met along the way that kind of helped me and guide me. They kind of told me, where to go seek information or offer their time, office hours, those kind of things. So. Just been fortunate enough to meet a lot of the individuals, especially in the local community, have been very supportive of what we're doing.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Very good. Okay. Final question as we're wrapping this up, unless I see any more come through on the chat, is who's an entrepreneur, current, past, whatever, that you really look up to and aspire to be like? I mean, obviously you've got so many people that are influencing you and all that, but is there somebody that you really, when it's all said and done, say, hey, I really modeled after that person? Or do you just want to be Mo and you're not interested in being like somebody else?
Yeah, no, I'm not interested in necessarily being in somebody else. There's people that I admire, and how can you not go, especially if there's people that you see that have achieved success, and it's kind of like, how can you not admire those people, right? Like Steve Jobs and Bill Gates, growing up in the 80s and everything, even though I've never been an Apple Mac person, I've always been a Microsoft DOS Windows person. So I've always liked Microsoft a little bit better. But point being is, you got to admire what they accomplished. But funny story is that the reason I struggled on the dog and cat thing is because we've had a cat for a while. We just recently got a dog. It wasn't a boy dog, but with a boy dog, I was going to call him Bezos. That was the name I was going to give him. So I admire Jeff Bezos for growing Amazon to be a man.
Gotcha. All right. Well, one follow-up to what you just said. So you mentioned success. What ultimately does success look like for Mo Sloan, and then also EZ Chow? What is that for you in your company?
Sure. So. And I mentioned about the bucket list thing, and I don't want to make it seem like it's a financial thing, because if we don't get to the $1 billion and we get to 500 million, I'm not going to be terribly upset, right? Or 250, I'm not 100. I don't care. But a success for me is that at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, when I'm put in the ground, I have changed my children's lives, their children's lives, and maybe their children's lives. I had given my family generational wealth, and maybe that wealth isn't in the term of currency. Maybe it's just knowledge and experience and everything. But my family, my kids especially, they will know that Daddy was in the basement for all those years, but it paid off.
Yeah, love it, and even love the perspective there that wealth is more than money, right? I mean, wealth is, money can be a part of it, but there's more to it than that. And I love that perspective. So, although this has been fantastic, again, this is another one of those things where I personally am leaving this conversation fired up and ready to go conquer the world. And I know that people that are listening to this have learned a lot from your wisdom and your experience, and as well that are going to go back and watch this video replay. So thank you so much for your time and sharing your journey. I can't wait to continue to watch the success and growth of EZ Chow and see what you and your team are able to accomplish here in the coming years. So, so you're welcome. Thank you, sir. So in wrapping up, again, just wanted to give a big shout out to our sponsors here. Amplify Louisville, who is our annual presenting sponsor, Render Capital for being an event sponsor, and then Citation Labs and Strategex as well for supporting Startup Grind. And then also want to give the next event announcement. We've got Julia Reagan with RX Lighting. She's going to be our first guest speaker for our Fireside Chat in January, and that's going to be on January 20th, 2021. So it's pretty exciting that we're already starting to plan events then, and hopefully sooner than later we're going to be able to meet back in person. But for the next few months, more than likely, we're going to continue to be doing these virtual. So thank you, everybody that was able to be here in person to view this. If you're watching this in video, hope this is a great experience as well. So thank you very much, Mo, again, for being here. Hope you have a wonderful day, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity. It's been great.
You're welcome, Mo. Have a great day.
Thanks.